allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome, everyone. We are returning from the executive session to discuss a suspension appeal and the process for the superintendent's mid-year evaluation. Also, Dustin, one of our board members, has a family matter to attend and will not be at this meeting. And at this point, can I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda? First is Stacy, second is Petra. All in favor? It is 6 in favor. Thank you. And we're going to go into the next item is Board of Education comments and reports. And we'll start with you, Deanna.
I actually don't have a comment to make.
Okay, thank you. Gus is not here. Tom.
Hi. Just real fast. Jason, I think you might be able to help too. Just in terms of like the full day kindergarten committee meetings are going well. We're talking about sort of what the day will look like in terms of instruction. Erica Ryan and Dr. Wilson Turner are doing a great job leading us, and we're having productive conversations that are ongoing.
Thank you. Jackson.
Actually, nothing really. Actually, it's kind of a lull on the student side, and you guys are very busy, but kind of a lull in the school year. So,
Okay.
nothing really.
All right. Thanks. Petra. Yes. Stacy. Nothing. All right. Well, I guess
It's
we're
that
done.
time of year.
Okay.
I got nothing. We're in end of year holiday spirit time. So.
Yes, it is. And it's hard to believe that we're into December. It's the shortest month of the year. At least it feels that way for me. But I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. And I just wanted to give one plug for something that's going on this weekend. It's the middle school robotics competition at High School East. It's going to be run by our high school robotics program. So if you have time to stop by, please do. It's from 8 to 3. And that's it for my shout out. Well, it's an early shout out, but I wanted to definitely mention it at this point in time. So instead of reading the statement that we typically read for public comment, I first wanted to ask the public, is there someone here that would like to make a public comment? Because we're going to go right into the public comment session. So without that, I invite our high school representatives up for their comments.
Hello. So for Saturday, we recently started our candy cane selling, and all the money we make will go towards Shen Helping Shen, where we help students pay AP exams and such.
I got nothing else for you.
Well, this is going to be quick. This is awesome. Okay. Thank you,
Is the
ladies.
superintendent's report going to be similar?
Oh, we shall find out. And to that end, Dr. Robinson.
So thank you very much, Mrs. Hoffman. My report is actually, you see on the screen, is a blank slate. Not a lot to report other than, as you know, that this time of year is always, from us internally, it's a challenging time because we engage in a lot of budget type analysis, like internal stuff. And while it's also the holiday season, so we're juggling the psychology of people who are in holiday mode. So it's always an interesting time for us. And then the weather certainly does have a transition of weather with those type things. So with all that being said, it's also a great time for us to celebrate. Particularly in a week or so from now, we'll be celebrating accomplishment from one season going to another season. When you think about athletics, we're coming off musicals, going into preparation for other things. So this is truly a bridge time for, in many ways, as we prepare for the close of the semester and the coming of the new calendar year, and a lot of new things are happening in the winter and into the spring. But for tonight, though, we have two presentations. I'll just introduce a presentation, we'll jump right into them. As the board knows, we have shared some information. Recently, there was some change in laws that allowed us to provide free breakfast and lunch to students, and like with most laws and regulations, there's always a lot of fine print that's not in the media presentation of things in terms of how things are broadcasted sometimes. So this is an opportunity for us to share some of the details with the board. And if you don't mind, if you just kind of jot your questions down and thoughts as we go through, because I anticipate that most, if not all your questions, will be addressed as a part of the presentation. So we kind of put everything in a larger context. So Katie Headwell is our food service director, who's been doing a great job with this. And Katie may mention it. Also want to mention that Katie is highly involved at the state level in her association, and which has been great. And she'll make some comments at the end in terms of some of the things that she'll be doing with some of our students as a part of this too as well. So I want to just give a plug to Katie, because like Katie, like many of our students and teachers and staff and administrators, we're engaged in a lot of things outside of the walls of Shen to try to influence the quality of the experience that our kids have. So with that being said, Katie, I'll click and you can talk.
Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Katie Headwell. I'm the Director of Food Services here. So with this community eligibility provision, I know it kind of sounds a little daunting. It's actually been around for quite a while, but it's a special federal meal funding program. And the reason why it's come to fruition these past couple months is that previously 40% of the students enrolled in the school had to be eligible for you to provide free meals. Back in October, the federal government changed the regulation, so it was only 25%. So that opened up a whole door for a lot of districts to end up applying for this for the CEP program. Which for being eligible for the program, the children have to be directly certified, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the eligibility, so it allows for the provision of breakfast and lunch for all students at no cost to those students. So direct certification, you hear that word a lot, especially in food and nutrition, because I know sometimes with schools and child nutrition and all that stuff, sometimes we tend to have our own language. So direct certification. So a lot of this is the data that we use to get to that 25%. So these are students that qualify through SNAP or other income-based federal assistance programs. All of that information is put into a state database, and that's the data that we use for the 25%. We use this data because it's consistent and accurate throughout the entire state. So it's something that we just have to go into the database and look. So that's why Kelly helped me put together the communication that went out at the beginning of last week about making sure that parents, and guardians can take a look and see if they qualify for SNAP benefits, because that's what's going to help push a lot of the schools that might not be at the 25% to that percentage, which is great. So, and because CEP focuses on direct certs only, that's why we want the parents to apply for those SNAP and other programs. So this provision, it only covers one breakfast and one lunch. We do have a few students that are coming up and trying to get more, but it doesn't cover any extras outside of the lunch, which was the same during COVID as well. Chips, ice cream, and cookies, and all of those fun things. So those two don't cost money. So with the help of Dr. Robinson, I did put together some data so that everyone could see. So if you look at the fourth column over, if I took the total enrollment and the total direct cert kids, that's the percentage of each of the schools broken down. So some schools are a lot closer to the 25%, some schools are a little bit further away, but it's something that we're ongoing and taking a look at once a month so that we know, okay, how can we get a lot of these schools closer to that 25%?
You want to talk about the quota, please?
So we have CODA and Aranjan together. The state had allowed me to pull in, so because if you notice, CODA is not at 25%. Aranjan is actually over the 25%. Aranjan and Shenendehowa, I'm sorry. Well, that's the other thing too, is so in the eyes of the state, which is kind of nice, they consider Aranjan and Shenendehowa one school. They consider Arenda and Karagan and Shenendehowa one school. So they're not separate, like when I do my claims for meal counting and stuff like that. So if one school qualifies, they would both qualify. So that's why I was able to pull in Aranjan and Shenendehowa, because in the eyes of the state, they're one school. They were over the 25%. So what we figured was, okay, I could bring in another school to make the average closer to 25%. And we figured since CODA was the feeder school to most of the children at Aranjan and Shenendehowa, then they would be able to continue free meals throughout the middle school as well. So. And obviously Octay, the sixth column there all the way at the end, Octay is only 3 students away. So that is something I am keeping my close eye on. Checking the state database. They only update the state database once a month, but the minute they update it, I am in there all the time checking. And so that's why we really are encouraging parents to go back and take a look and saying, please look, do you qualify for SNAP benefits? We really need this because literally 3 students, that's it. You know, at the high school, it's 196. We could figure that part out, but I said for Octave, it would be 3 students. So.
I just have a quick question, sorry. If the schools were broken out, like Arenda and Carolina were broken out, is that possible, like if Arenda met the criteria?
It's there actually.
It's not possible.
No.
They would be lower, yeah.
They went down lower actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
We looked at all the gyrations.
so it could be done, it just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
We wanna do, if it's beneficial, we'll take advantage of it.
Oh, yeah.
And so going into the high school, the average, so you can't roll that forward. It looks like the numbers are
No.
the gap's too
You're
wide.
gonna roll
By the time
one
we get to high
percentage.
school.
The combination of any rolling has to be 25% for both of those entities. In this case, Rwanda Chatterton as an entity, Coda as an entity. So with that combination, they're both now over 25%.
It does create an interesting situation where they have free lunch in the middle school and then they go to the high school and they don't.
Exactly. So,
Or like even Octave goes to Acadia next year and does. So,
that's all the data that we're looking at to continue, because of course we want all the students to be able to
Right.
benefit from this. So just some other facts about the food services. So we actually have 2,002 students out of the 9,300. So that gives us a free and reduced eligibility of 21.42%. But because we can only count the directly certified students, that's only 1795, and that brings us back down to 1924. So we're not even at the 20% mark, and we do have to be up to the 25 as a district as a whole to qualify everybody. So that's why, again, we're encouraging people to take a look at certain programs. And then just the cost of, just as an FYI, cost for breakfast and cost for lunch for the middle school and elementary school. Some other facts, I put together some data based on the 21-22 school year, which was the year that we did feed all of the students for free. So I took the numbers from there, and we did over 160,000 breakfasts, and we did over 600,000, 40,000, I just can't even say that right. 640,000 lunches, and then took the revenue that was generated from that, and it was almost $2 million. So if we were to take a look and say, hey, could we feed all these kids for free through our budget, it would cost us almost $2 million. So.
Can I just ask 2 questions on that? The 2021-22 year, that year, was that the hybrid year? Or was that full time?
That's the
No.
first year back.
First year back full time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well, and there could have still been kids who were hybrid that year, so
Yeah,
the 2 million probably would
yeah,
have
and
gone up.
part of this too, this
The reason I'm asking, I just wanna make sure we're not undercounting. the
No,
number
so-
of
so this
we serve or
number-
meals we serve, yeah.
the reality of it is the payment of it is higher, obviously, than the $2 million. Even just the fact it's 2 years.
That's the gap, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The
So-
difference, yeah.
So the difference is probably now, it could be upwards about 2.5 to 1.6 million, because of everything else, so yeah.
And then just some other facts about the CEP and all of that is we can apply twice a year, so it is in December and April, so it's kind of like a rolling application. So I said if we don't qualify in December, which obviously I am really taking a look at a couple of the other schools, I can apply again in April. And then, so as more directly certified students are added to the database, we're gonna track that monthly. And that state database, just so people are aware too, that comes from the OCDA office and the Child Nutrition office. So it's a database that I have access to that they will put all that information into, and then I just can pull it from there, so. And then what's nice about the cycle too is that once I apply, it lasts for 4 years. So now these schools will have free meals until 2027. And then we would just apply for another 4-year cycle at that point. And then even during those 4 years, I can still apply for other schools as well. And then their 4-year cycle will just start over, which is kind of nice. So it's not a annual thing that I would have to do, so.
Oh, so is it, when you say during that time you can apply to other schools, it resets the clock for the ones that are already in or not?
No, it just starts the clock, it starts the clock for
It's a new
that school.
clock
Yep.
For these others?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly, because
So
they
you
would
could
just
have all
be
these
separate
staggered,
applications,
yeah.
exactly. I would have to fill out another application for that school, but then their 4-year cycle would
Right.
continue as well, so, which is kind of nice. And then just a side note too, like Dr. Robinson had said, was this is something that I have been advocating with my New York State School Nutrition Association for ever since COVID, when we did feed the children for free. We thought it was a huge benefit. So this has been a big ask that we have been asking legislators for, and trying to, advocate for all of the students, because there are still 360,000 students that are not under this provision right now. So that's something that we are continuingly to, talk to our legislators, talk to the governor. We're trying to do all of these things. And in January, actually, I have a group of students coming with me for an advocacy day down in Albany to talk with legislators and stuff, because I have 2 students who have kind of pioneered this as a project for Girl Scouts, which I think is awesome. And they've really stepped up to help me with all of this. And I think hearing that student voice is so important for them to hear it. So.
I don't know, did you get a chance to see the Times Union today?
I did.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they devoted their editorial for most of it to advocating with the governor for the statewide free breakfast and lunch. They feel that there are some gaps, and that this would be a way that could meet everybody's needs.
So as I said, it's a big issue. So I said everyone's on board, and what's nice is that a lot of people I've talked to, everyone agrees with it. It's like, well, they get free Chromebooks, they get nursing services, they get everything. It's like, why can't we just feed kids?
So again, questions from board members? So I'm sorry, Jason.
I know we've already sent out some district-wide notifications trying to get people to, sign up. Is there any plan to do something really targeted at Opt Day? Because I feel like if we need 3 people, maybe we can get those 3 people by April.
Well, I think across the district.
Like a little more active, not just hoping
Yeah.
people like read that email, but maybe like
Yeah.
really.
Well, and Kelly and I have talked about this. We're going to continue to send out emails to the entire district, because obviously, and not just Octave, we want everyone to
Right.
take a look and stuff.
So that
So-
one's right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it's very close.
I would, if there's something more intensive there, that would maybe be a good idea, with the PTA or the principals at that particular school, because they're like, again, they're a little shy over the edge. And then I'll just say generally on this, I think what's worth pointing out for everyone, not here in particular, but for the public and everyone, this is a new program. This is funding. These are grants being made, not a grant, but this is funding being made available to us for this new threshold. We would all, I think, agree and prefer that every school made the cut, but only a few did. That is a benefit and a good, so I think everyone should acknowledge that and be happy that that is a good that's still happening. It doesn't mean, we might not want to talk about or think about how we can do more if that cap remains, because I do feel for, I'm sure there's folks that have some food insecurity that are not in the schools covered, right, and may not be eligible. So I am worried there's probably people on the bubble, but it is a good thing. So I'm glad we're getting in here right away and making this available. I think that's a positive.
This is just the beginning. As I
Right.
said, this is all new to us. This is just the beginning. That's why I said we're going to keep pushing forward. So.
Aside from the people who get certified or eligible for these programs, do we have any other data available to us about families in our district to know like who's maybe really close to the line but not quite under the line?
No, it's not anything that we would keep track of. So.
Yeah. We don't get everybody's W-2, right?
No.
We don't want it.
Yeah. That's IMS issues. Yeah. Data privacy, all that stuff.
Oh, the next presentation. Okay, got it. Thank you.
That's right, we're looking at that next, always the inventory.
Oh, that's it.
Thank you for this, this is great. I would also like to point out there are voices, not so many in the community, but across the country that question why, which, hurts my heart, but they do question the efficacy of this. And I wanted to point out that there are some recent studies that just came out that said that New York City middle schools, free school lunch led to improvements in academic performance up to 10 extra weeks of learning. And a 2021 study found that schools were overall the healthiest place kids ever eat. So I know that there's been traditionally, people impugn school lunches, and it's, in the media and movies, but we provide really healthy lunches. And like you're saying, that this is, for some children, this is the only place they eat. So thank you for this.
And thank you, Katie. It's Katie, I just want to make a point that we still have free and reduced lunch in every school. So it's not like this substitute for everything else. So we still have many young people in every school that's still getting free and reduced lunch, which I think at some point they get lost in translation, in the sense of it, which I think kind of goes to some of the argument that on the other side people want to argue against this piece for us. So again, it's not we're not in a political hot potato type, pass it around because it's too hot. We're simply trying to figure out what can we do that's sustainable, one, which is a big part of it, sustainability. And so whether it's be from a legislative action, that's going to be a big part of it, because foreign legislative action, and every time you're up to the whims of politics, right, with some of these type things as we move forward. But we do have a significant number of kids that are still in other schools getting free and reduced lunch as we speak. Okay.
And also just real fast, so as we think about, I'm sure you're involved in this, sort of and certainly Dr. Robinson, the advocacy priorities, I would be thinking that this would be among them, for sure, this year, as much as any year, but because of the push, because we're so close, I think that makes some sense.
And just a quick question, when are you going to Albany to advocate? I know you talked about, I think one of the young ladies is a senior.
Yes,
Right?
it was supposed to be in January. We're not 100% sure of the date, but they got changed. So it was supposed to be January 9th, but it got changed to.
Okay, so it is earlier in the
Yes.
in the cycle.
Yeah, we
Interesting.
try to do it early so that we can get into full budget.
Okay, that's good to know. But of course, as a board member, it's also another opportunity to advocate as well. Thank you, Mrs. Sagal.
Thank you. So, we have another presentation, more of, I'm going to say interest update for the board. Certainly not an interest update for Ray and his team. It's integral to the success of IMS in terms of keeping track of the many devices that we have. So I thought it would be good for the board to understand how we inventory devices. People see devices all over the place, but it's being great to understand how we actually track and monitor those devices. So, Ray, you can do the pick and say, right?
Yeah. So thanks. So about a year ago, we had a retirement in IMS, and we kind of took advantage of an opportunity. We came to Dr. Robinson, Dr. Wood, and the board eventually to propose an inventory clerk. We never had that position within IMS. You guys all supported it, so I thought it would be a great idea to kind of 1 year later kind of give you an update on what this investment is helping us do, and that's just kind of keeping track of things. So we have Allison Roscoe. She is our inventory clerk that we did hire last January. And of course, you guys know David Hines, Assistant Director. So if you go to the next slide. So this just gives a little snapshot of our highest value assets. I think a couple of highlights here are Chromebooks, and I'm going to talk about those again at the end of this presentation. But we have a lot of them, and it's a big value here. Ever since we've gone 1-to-1, it's a big ticket item for sure. Desktop computers are next. Some other things, those interactive panels that we see all over the place. We're replacing the interactive whiteboards, which are at the very bottom of this list. Those aren't worth a whole lot. That's kind of their current cost these days. That's why that number is low. The interactive panels include a panel and a computer and a podium, so there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. So much network equipment behind the scenes. You see switches and access points, there's an access point right there. We have servers, things that are in our network operations center, in multiple centers. Obviously every single building we have hidden closets everywhere, with all kinds of gear in there. Surprising iPads, we have 1,500 iPads, right now. Our kindergarten uses iPads along with, special ed. But yeah, there's phones, 1,500 phones, they all connect to our network. So yeah, there's a lot of things to keep track of, and the mobile devices are the trickiest. Next slide. So I'm gonna just turn it over to David for a couple of slides here.
Evening, everybody. So the important thing to remember with inventory is there's a snapshot which you're seeing right now, but it's a living, breathing thing. The primary, I'll say, utility that we use in order to track our inventory across the district for IT assets is that district asset manager. It's actually a cloud service that's hosted, I believe, by a company in the UK, but we've been working with them closely over the last 4 or 5 years to really try and define what we needed. We're one of their larger customers. But at the same time, it is, just as I said, it's a snapshot. So when inventory comes in and out, there are sheets that are filled out, there are tickets that are closed with inventory information. You're gonna miss some things. So there's more behind the scenes. I didn't want to include the actual technology names or platforms here, because it's not really an endorsement, but also security reasons. But we have Chromebook monitoring software that tells us health of Chromebooks, like what versions they're on, if they're supported anymore for auto updates, if there's a battery problem, things along those lines we can end up monitoring. Same thing with the wireless access points. There's a number of systems that all provide what I call like the live view of the inventory. More than just the superficial, do we know where this is? It's how is it performing? Is it doing what it's supposed to be doing? And things along those lines. So that's an important part of it. We also start the obsolescence planning before we even purchase the equipment, which is the next slide. We plan during budgeting, we're looking for replacements that are long lasting, anything that's got longevity that's extended versus something that we're concerned might be fragile, especially Chromebooks. That's another big thing. We have a large volume of Chromebook repairs that I believe we cover later in the presentation, but we go through ruggedized tests. We look at history of different vendors and how they've supported products and things along those lines. So all the way back in the beginning in the planning, we're looking at all of that. We're trying to make the smartest purchases that we can that give us the biggest bang for the buck, so to speak. Then we have I like to call them seasonal deployments during our break weeks, during summer, during maybe a long weekend that maybe staff and students aren't here, like a 10-month staff and students. We try and plan all of that to have minimal impact on, instruction, but also, it's a nice surprise when people come back and all of a sudden there's a new wireless system, things are working faster, or there's new PCs in a classroom or a lab or something. And then IMS supports it from the day we order it until the day that we disposition it. So, and then this next slide is just what I would call the minimum that we try and shoot for each type of device, the major devices there. We do what we can, budget is a very real constraint. Not that we don't have immense support, have a very healthy budget, we certainly do, and we thank leadership and all of you for that. But sometimes there's a reality where things obsolesce at the same times, and some are really expensive, some aren't. So we do try and be conscious and a little wily, Wile E. Coyote, where we might be able to extend some life for some of this gear by replacing components rather than the whole thing. So, for example, we've had some PCs that have seen 7-8 years of service that we've extended by putting solid-state hard drives in or RAM, and we may be able to upgrade 20 computers for every one that we would have bought. So we do look at even things as minute as that in order to improve our lifespans, to give the district the best investment that they can get, and while not impacting instruction in a negative way and bringing it more modernized. So I'm going to pass it over to Allison.
All right, just to kind of continue on the life cycle of our assets, when it comes to the end of its life, when a Chromebook or a desktop computer comes back to the office and it's not repairable for our department or can send back to warranty repair, we send it to e-waste for disposition. That is created, I create spreadsheets and document why it came back, the serial numbers, all the information. We have e-waste come and pick it up, who works with NERC as well. They dispose of all the equipment properly and we get a certification of disposition for that back. So those are kind of the numbers up there of what was disposed of this year. So as you can see, there's lots of Chromebooks that we actually just received one that I got today that I'll be adding to my next list. But there's Chromebooks that have been out there that we disposed of 4 years ago or longer that we're still trying to collect back. So that's why that number is so high. And the same thing, we upgraded a lot of new desktops, so a lot of those went out the door. This is just a manifest that we get back from e-waste proving that they picked up the items and they disposed of them properly.
So, yeah, I'm just gonna talk about, because we now have an inventory clerk, one of the new things that we're proposing is an annual inventory audit. So it's one thing to kind of, first of all, I have to say that coming into this position a couple years ago, I was very impressed with how IMS paid attention to the detail of inventory. I've been at other districts, other places that it was, nowhere near as looked, nowhere near as paid attention to. I'll put it that way. But you can always do better, and I think by going out into the buildings and as David said, inventory is, because there's so many different devices everywhere, it's hard to get your arms around it, so you have to be satisfied with the snapshot. And so as a part of part of the process to making sure that we have a good idea of where everything is, we're going to be doing these annual audits. Something I'm going to be talking about in a little bit is tracking loss, tracking theft, that kind of stuff. So we do it, but we don't report on it, and I feel like we should be reporting on that. So Allison did start to do some physical inventory, and these are the buildings since she's been on board that she went around to every single space with her scanner and with her laptop, and recorded the device, every single device that she could find. She came back to the office and then reconciled to say, all right, this is what I saw out there, this is what I'm supposed to see, and you become quite the spreadsheet, aficionado, because now there's all kinds of comparison to go on. And if you hit the next slide, so here's an example of those spaces. These are the devices that Allison actually touched, actually scanned, and then over on the right, for example, we realized that I think in 2020 we did our VoIP project where we put brand new IP phones around, and they never made it into inventory somehow. In the busyness of that project, that never came back. So anyway, Allison started realizing that, hey, this phone's not in inventory. This phone's not in inventory. Until she realized none of the phones are in inventory. So that, and then external monitors, a lot of those external monitors went out without being tracked. So the rest of the stuff I think is within reason, but those top two were definitely a catch. So, and then these are the 5 buildings. There's a lot more buildings. I think Allison was just talking about hitting the DO next over the holidays to start to see what's over there. So,
Plus you return it on nice.
But that doesn't include cell phones or anything like that.
no,
Is your threshold
we don't have many district cell phones out there.
Is your threshold $400 for what you keep track of, or you keep track of What is not included in that?
Well, historically, it's been somewhere thereabouts, but now we're trying, like, the external monitors don't hit that
Yeah, the
price
external
threshold.
monitors are about $250, but we're tracking those now.
Because we buy them such huge bulk that adds up fast.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's so many of them out there.
730.
So I want to talk specifically about Chromebooks for a second because these are difficult. Because first of all, they're mobile, so you can never pin them down. As David said, we have tools where we can actually triangulate where a device is, because sometimes a device comes up lost, and they look at basically the APs that they were connected to last, and then they could say, well, it's somewhere in the vicinity of the library, high school east library, and then I don't know. More times than not, we find the device that somebody left behind. But anyway, because things travel, these Chromebooks, it's very difficult to kind of keep track of everything. Just to give you a little reminder, so grades 1 through 4, they're in the carts, right? Grades 5 through 12, they take them home every night. Grades 5 through 8, they're in a case. Grades 9 through 12, they're not in a case. We have 1,100 staff Chromebooks. That's something that I'm trying to get my arms around right now. I've been so focused on student Chromebooks and like that cycle that now it's just like, okay, well, I can't ignore the staff Chromebooks anymore, which is why a couple of you received emails because your Chromebooks weren't being used, and I said, if you don't mind giving them back, that would be useful. So we could look at the last time a Chromebook was logged in, who logged into it, all that kind of stuff. Lost or stolen Chromebooks. So if it's stolen, we need a police report, and then we can, we will replace it at no cost. Lost, it depends. It's kind of up to the discretion of the administrator whether we charge full or we charge partial to have that one replaced. And then the next one, there's a lot of broken Chromebooks, as you can imagine, and we have a full-time repair technician. He does a lot more than just repair Chromebooks. So we actually our school technologists also repair Chromebooks. We have a lot of different people who will replace a screen or fix a Wi-Fi card. But we do provide loaners to all the kids and staff when they break their Chromebook. It happens. I mean, we have plenty of adults who, crack a screen. And just to give you an example, a cracked screen, it's like $150 or $130, $150, depending on the model. And that's probably the most expensive, unless it's a full, unless the Chromebook needs to be totally replaced. But if you go to the next slide, so we do have, that's picture is of our shed, the high school students who do the repairs over here. So we do have our main technician, Keith Arp, comes over here and supervises them, certifies them, like Shen certifies them, so that they can do different repairs. But there's a chart just showing you some of since about a year ago, I asked the group to really start collecting data on every single repair, so we can see how many screens, how many Wi-Fi cards, how many hinges break a lot, all these things. So, and you can see the middle school are the biggest offenders. That's where all the damage really comes. I've thought about, so right now they carry them around in these black cases, and we experimented with these snap-on plastic cases that have bumpers on the sides that would really protect them. But we piloted some out there in the middle schools, and unfortunately they were not very popular. And I guess the kids use the cases to carry around their chargers and carry around, pencils and pens, that kind of stuff. So even the principals were not very excited about getting rid of those black cases. So anyway, the repairs, this is something, again, because of this presentation, I really dove into the repairs. It's been on my mind ever since I got here. But there's a very large number, like financially, that we are, where we are repairing these Chromebooks, purchasing parts, purchasing, new units sometimes, but we're not doing a great job of following through on the billing and the accounting of all that. So that's going to be a big focus. I mean, I'm going to be talking to Dr. Wilson Turner in my next one-on-one meeting to kind of move that forward, talking with Kathy Wetmore. So just to try to create a little bit more transparency. I'd also like to see us be able to offer parents with the ability to pay with a credit card. And I don't know, to my knowledge, parents, other than our food services, I don't think there's any opportunity for parents to pay with a credit card here. So anyway, those are some things I'm thinking about to kind of make this a little bit, start to recoup some of these funds I think that we're losing through Chromebook repairs.
So you believe the bags are the reason why there's more damage to Chromebooks in middle school?
I think because in transport they're great, but then as soon as they take them out, they're totally vulnerable. So they take them out of the bags, they put them on the desk, someone accidentally bumps into it, falls on the floor, boom. Whereas if it had these cases on with the rubberized bumpers, a lot of that stuff I don't think they get quite as damaged.
I'm curious, so you showed an image of the students from the shed, which is high school.
Yeah.
Are they repairing middle school Chromebooks, or is that a separate team?
No, they repair high school Chromebooks only. Yeah, and my team, Keith and the school technologists, they repair whatever else comes in. And we're constantly, I mean, because we're the mail, IMS is the mail hub too. So we have someone who does 2 runs of mail every single day. So it's really efficient because the Chromebooks come and go very fast. I mean, as they come in, they get fixed, they go out. And with 2 mail runs a day, we get them right back out to them.
So they're all coming to High School West?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Except for the ones that are here in High School East.
Okay.
Sometimes they can't repair them and they'll send them over. But yeah, the High School East kids do quite a good job.
Thanks, Ray.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So those were the 2 presentations today, so back to you, Anna.
Okay, thank you. Invite Mrs. Carmen up to do the first reading for policies and procedures.
Good evening. Tonight we are presenting first reading a set of policies that were reviewed in policy review back in November. One in specifically that I want to point out is the commercialism in school. That was something that we had reviewed a few months prior to that, and we pushed it off to do our due diligence and making sure that we had some accurate information in there regarding having vendors on campus here in the district. So that's going forward tonight for first reading also. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So we're going to move into the consent items. The first item up is the treasurer's report. Can I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month ending October 2023? First is Petra, second is Stacy. Any questions or comments? All in favor? It is 6 in favor. Thank you. Next up are the minutes, and we'll do these separately. Petra and Tom were not at the November 7th, so if you want, you can abstain. Can I have a motion to approve the November 7th, 2023 minutes? First is Jason, second is Stacy. Are the 2 of you going to abstain? Okay, all in favor?
Who's abstaining?
Tom is abstaining, and so is Petra. And then it looks like there are 4 in favor, so the motion passes. Thank you. The next item up is minutes still, is the November 21st, 2023. And all board members were present for that meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the November 21st, 2023 minutes? First is Deanna, second is Tom. Any comments or questions? All in favor? It is 6 in favor. Thank you. We're gonna move into the action items. The first item up, is for bids. So can I have a motion to approve the 3 bids for groceries to recap tires and tire-related services and the extension for plumbing work? First is Deanna, second is Stacy. Any comments or questions? All in favor? It is 6 in favor. The motion passes. Thank you. Next is disposal of equipment. Not digital equipment necessarily. Actually, I didn't look. Is it digital equipment in this too? When we do the report, we combine them all, correct?
Correct.
We don't distinguish, okay. Can I have a motion to approve the disposal of obsolete furniture, equipment, and textbooks? First is Jason, second is Stacy. Any comments or questions? All in favor? It is 6 in favor. Thank you. Item number 3, can I have a motion to approve the scholarships and local grant donations with appreciation? First is Deanna, second is Tom. Any comments or questions? All in favor? It is 6 in favor. Motion passes. Number 4, can I have a motion to approve the tax settlement? First is Tom, second is Deanna. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I'm just wondering why it had a date of May.
Say it again?
The tax on the memo has a date of May on it.
That was modified.
I just clicked it and it wasn't,
Oh, it was modified though.
maybe I haven't.
So you have to
So-
refresh.
I see December 5th.
Okay,
You have
so,
to you have to refresh
Sorry.
your.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
in my cash, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it can, that's
Yeah.
it.
okay, so it is December.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you have to refresh. That happens to me too when you
Sorry
don't
about
refresh
that,
it.
yeah.
No, no
You know, it
problem.
probably happens on my phone or on mine.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you. All in favor? It is 6 in favor. The motion passes. Item number 5. Can I have a motion to approve the capital project bid awards? First is Tom, second is Deanna. Any comments or questions? All in favor? It is 6 in favor. Thank you. And Mrs. Mylott is coming up
Good
for
evening.
special education.
You have before you the recommendations from the committees on preschool and special education for your approval. Any questions?
Okay. With that, can I have a motion to accept the special education placements? First is Tom, second is Stacy. We don't have any questions. All in favor? It is 6 in favor. Thank you, Mrs. Mylon. And the motion passes. Next up is personnel. Mrs. Scalia could come up for the staffing recommendations.
Okay, good evening, everyone. You have the staffing agenda in front of you tonight. Did want to just point out our retirements with appreciation totaling 75 years. We have John Duncan with 24 years, John Rizzicone 10 years, William Speen with 22 years, and Manon Thomas with 19 years.
Wow, that's a lot of years. Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the staffing recommendations with appreciation to our retirees? First is Deanna, second is Petra. Any questions or comments? All in favor? It is 6 in favor. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Mrs. Scalia. And Mrs. Carmen, invite you back up for our second reading for policies and procedures.
So the policies being presented for second reading were presented for first reading last month. Are there any questions regarding those?
With that, can I have a motion? Oh, Tom, you look.
No.
Okay, all right. You had a frown, so I didn't know if you had a question. Sorry. Can I have a motion to approve the policies and procedures up for second reading? First is Petra, second is Tom. All in favor? It is 6 in favor. Thank you. Mrs. Carmen?
Mayor,
Yes.
feel bad. The 21st I left early. I shouldn't have voted on that.
21st.
That's still count.
For the 21st?
I didn't vote on that.
I think it's because most of the, I read through the minutes and you left towards the
Okay,
end.
all right.
Actually,
Sorry about
no, it is all right. I did look at that when I
Okay.
reviewed the minutes.
All right,
And it was towards the end. That was a very short meeting too.
okay.
Yeah, so
I just
it's
wanted
fine.
to note that, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, we made a few divisions.
All right, that's
Yeah.
all
And
right.
we're like, okay, it's time to stop the meeting now. It's okay. All right. We're moving on to item 8. This is our second opportunity for public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to come up for that? Seeing no one approach, I will close the second public comment period, and we'll move into the for good of the order. And this is an opportunity for the board members to discuss salient matters or to just give a shout out about something they would like to talk about. So I open the floor.
Tim, you wanna mention if everyone's available at the 19th for meeting?
Yes. In fact, we did discuss it right as we were coming in after we exited executive session. And I don't know if everyone's available, but it was mentioned that we were hoping you can join us after the next board meeting to
For
celebrate.
social hour.
A social hour. It's something we haven't done before, so it sounds like a really nice change. And that also extends to the administration that's here. Hopefully, others can come too. You know, we're all here together. We can leave together. And, I think it's a really nice opportunity, and hopefully others can participate in it. The only other thing I wanted to, as long as we are all set, the only thing I wanted to bring up is, you know, we have talked about the retreat. We started the process back in August. We put together a draft agenda. We shared it out a couple of meetings ago. We did have our general counsel look at that, the agenda, and we really want everyone to be together for that. So that's still the goal. We're still going to work towards that. But a slightly different approach. There were definitely some things on that agenda that we can talk about in public. But what we're thinking, and I discussed this with Jason right before we went into this meeting to make sure that we were on the same page with this, and we can talk about it right now, is that put it as an agenda item on our next meeting, December 19th.
The retreat or specific?
No, not the retreat. To discuss, to have an opportunity to discuss the agenda, because we
Okay,
haven't
gotcha.
really done that yet, especially.
But before we pick
in public.
another date, let's lock
Yes.
in what we're doing. and then-
Exactly,
I
exactly.
think we need a date, these people like.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna do that too, but the feeling is that we haven't really had an opportunity as a group to discuss the agenda either. So we shared out what we proposed. We definitely went over that with our council. And now we're thinking, we like, there are things in that list that we're compelled to do, as far as the board evaluation. There's other things that we wanted to talk about and get through. And so, but we thought, okay, no, let's make sure we're all on the same page with the agenda first, and then we'll work forward. There are things on that agenda that we can also make it a separate agenda item in future meetings, and we can get through, you know, just have a conversation like here at the board table. And so it'll keep things moving, and I think everyone can be part of the conversation. And then we have a recording to go back to. We want to go back and see, okay, what did we miss? This way everyone has the same information. Okay? So everyone feels comfortable with that approach? Okay, great. That's it. That's my only comment. All right, so we'll move on to the next item 10, which is essentially the policy schedule and tomorrow's policy meeting, bright and early. I'm looking at Petra. Jason and I take turns, so Jason gets tomorrow off. And then, of course, the board presentation schedule. And that brings us to adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn? First is Petra, second is Tom, all in favor. It is 6 in favor. The motion, it's approved, the meeting is adjourned.